Last episode ended with the party accidentally unleashing the literal apocalypse, and now they were fleeing through an ancient mansion as an army from another dimension began to invade behind them. After a short skill challenge, the party managed to escape out the front doors and back to the surface. So, how did the inspection go? Great, you passed, we're gonna leave now, okay, bye! As the party crossed to the other side of the wooden bridge they had been at last episode, Barashk turned around and lit it on fire behind them.
That should slow them down a bit.
After another few days of travel, the party arrived back at Amberwood. They needed to get help, but first they made a quick stop at a familiar location. Welcome to Van Morn's bookstore. I mean, my bookstore. I'm Van Morn. No, I'm Van Morn. You're not Van Morn. After whatever that was, the party learned some information about what had happened in their absence. First, the party learned that there was allegedly some shadowy creature lurking in the dark alleys of Amberwood, and some had started calling it the Stitch Wraith. However, the more important piece of news the party learned was that Silsira had called the entirety of the Thief Lord's court back to Silverwick, and had declared herself as the new Thief Lord of Venzor, even though she didn't have Merlos's crown. The second that Jay learned this, he stormed out of the bookstore and headed towards the center of the city. People of Amberwood, you may have heard that Silsira Elafir is the new ruler of the island. I'm glad to inform you that this is a lie. I, Jay Scarfeathers, have delved into Merlos's mansion and reclaimed his crown. I am the Thief Lord of Venzor, unlike that pretender up in Silverwick. And if any of you happen to be agents of Silsira, then I'd like you to send her a message from me. Run. Run as far and as fast as you possibly can, because the second that I'm done dealing with the threat in the mountains, I will find you and I will get my revenge for what you did to my party. You have my word on that. Shortly after Jay's announcement, the Baron of the city quickly arrived and invited Jay to his castle, where they began preparing for the war against Alinar's army. First, Jay sent out an envoy to the boggart city of Anrakor, informing them of the threat and offering that they could travel to Amberwood and merge forces to mount a defense against Alinar together. Meanwhile, he doubled the number of guards watching on the walls and elected a friend named Volrin to be the leader of the Amberwood military. Volrin was a capable soldier who Jay had fought alongside earlier in the campaign, but what Jay didn't know about him was that Volrin currently had 3 small dark purple crystal shards in his possession. The same 3 shards that the Eldrite army needed in order to finish their portal and bring their entire army through. And now the person with those shards was going to be on the front line of the battlefield. I'm sure nothing is possibly going to go wrong with that plan. During one of their planning meetings, the party was interrupted by a familiar-looking dragonborn who was wearing a suit and a blood-stained bowler's hat. How the hells did you get in here?
I'm not quite sure, I just kinda walked in. You should probably tighten up your security.
Well, this is a private meeting. Guards, arrest this man.
The name's Kyle, and I'm just here to settle a bet.
Kyle tossed a bag of gold coins on the floor in front of Jay.
Technically, I owed that to your witch friend, but as it seems that she kicked the bucket, I suppose that it passed on to you.
Thanks?
Don't mention it. Good luck with your whole ruling a kingdom thing, and, also you might want to take a look outside when you get the chance.
Kyle disappeared from sight, and before the party could wonder about where he went, they heard an explosion rock the city, and a loud voice echoed out from far above. Jay Scarfeathers, show yourself or more people die. It was Silsira's voice, magically amplified to be able to be heard anywhere in Amberwood. The party immediately ran out into the streets and saw the blue smoke of alchemist fire, burning an entire block somewhere else in the city. Meanwhile, far above was Silsira's airship, flying in a large circle over the tops of the buildings. Jay shouted back up to her, and after a brief discussion, a ladder was rolled down from the airship, which the party quickly climbed up and met Silsira face to face. So, you think that you can be the Thief Lord of Venzor? You've been here for less than a year. And yet, I have the crown on my head, don't I? Regardless, we both know that I didn't come up here to talk, so shall we begin? Gladly. Silsira's eyes began to glow as she cast her first spell, creating an indestructible and immovable cage around Jay and Barashk, trapping them. However, while the cage itself wasn't moving, the airship was. So both Jay and Barashk were slowly being pulled to the edge of the ship by the magical bars that were surrounding them. Meanwhile, Silsira's guards drew weapons and the fight began in earnest. Early on in the fight, Plunk got a lucky spell off that killed Silsira's archer.
Haha, get plunked. Ow! Hey, Cersei, where the hell did you go? I can't fight them all just by myself.
While Silsira and her last remaining guard had been distracted fighting Plunk, Cersei had snuck up behind them. Nothing personnel, kid. Cersei got a lucky sneak attack against Silsira, but now his position was revealed. And rogues don't have many hit points, so before his next turn rolled around, Silsira and her guard were able to drop Cersei to 0 hit points, and he started to make death saving throws. On the other side of the airship, Jay managed to climb up and over the top of the magical cage, letting him enter the fight as well. Plunk, go get Cersei back up. I can deal with Silsira until then.
Aye, aye, Captain.
Jay drew his spiked chain, and without even glancing over at them, Jay crushed the skull of the last remaining guard, then strode up towards Silsira. Any last words? Of course, but it's not like I'm going to need them now, am I?
I don't mean to interrupt, but when you get a chance, if you could maybe help me out a little bit, that would be greatly appreciated.
Silsira went to cast a spell at Jay, but she froze halfway through, spotting something far in the distance, something that chilled her to her very core. Marching out of the tree line, towards the city of Amberwood was an army of humanoid and metallic hybrids. Corpses that had been taken and upgraded with Eldrite to make the strongest soldiers in the world. Alinar's army had finally arrived. Jay, what have you done? Silsira never got an answer to that question, because Jay promptly bashed in her skull with his spiked chain, then again, and again, and again, until he was absolutely sure that she was dead, and that she was never coming back. Jay quickly rushed to the back of the ship to help Barashk out of the magical cage, while Plunk was healing Cersei, and soon the whole party was safe and sound. However, the airship continued moving, and the magical cage ripped its way through the back of the ship, destroying the engine. The airship, which was completely filled to the brim with barrels of alchemist fire, began to sputter, and then started to drop down towards the city of Amberwood. Meanwhile, Alinar's army marched forth, ready to crush their opposition and slaughter everybody. However, that's gonna have to wait until next episode, so don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss that when it gets uploaded. And if you're interested in what happened leading up to this episode, then I'll put a link in the doobly-doo to the entire playlist. Either way, I'll see you in the next video.